Well, good morning to you. It's almost 1 o'clock in the morning, but that's what happens when it's week one. Gerhard Mathangani, Simone Eli joining you for the first edition of Fifth Quarter Extra. We appreciate you guys tuning in late night, or if you're rewatching in the morning. It's been a super fun first week of football. Of course, it's very, very busy, Gerhard, but this is what we live for, man.
Certainly is. I think there's a certain juice that comes with this time of year.
Yeah.
Everybody goes back to school. You're off of the summer break, and you're working people. Obviously, your day-to-day life might look the same, but for the kids and for the people that we cover, you go through this off season, you go through this grind, you go through this work, and then it all culminates to these 10 Friday nights. And if you're lucky, 15 Friday nights if you go into the playoffs. And so it's really fun always going into week one, and there's things that everybody wants to do a little bit differently in all realms. I think teams, bands, cheerleaders, television, radio, everywhere. But it doesn't take away from the excitement.
Yeah, and this is something that we plan to do every single week here, Fifth Quarter Extra. And it really just gives us an opportunity to dive deeper into our coverage of high school football, because obviously when we're on fifth quarter at 10:05 or so on WKRG News 5, it's very sample size really of the amount of work and effort that goes into what makes fifth quarter possible. We have photographers all over Mobile, Baldwin County, the Florida Panhandle, Mississippi as well at times, and so we want to be able to really showcase their talents, our coverage, pat ourselves on the back a little bit for all of the planning and prep that goes into it, because the truth of the matter is that sometimes on Friday nights we don't get to show everything, and that even happened tonight. We had three games that were wrapping up kind of late and getting scores in kind of late, and it's one of those deals where you're like, oh, I wish I could have had that one back a little bit.
Certainly, and I think that everybody understands the constraints of turning things around very quickly. In a lot of these games, the Pace MGM game comes to mind, a game that went to overtime, a lot of games that went late into the game. Obviously, we're finding out scores. Sometimes we're getting scores on the fly. A lot of times,
really on the fly. Like tonight, I mean, we got several games like in real time. It was intense.
That's right. But I think this platform lets us let the games breathe a little bit, let you all see how these games unfolded, what we think of them. Obviously, in week one, you have certain takeaways, but I think as the season rolls along, and then as the playoff picture really starts to take shape, I think that's where this platform will really, come into full form, because we'll be able to really lay out, hey, this is the highlights, and this is really what it means and what it means moving forward. Yeah,
and so speaking of the highlights, our plan is to kind of showcase our guys. And we're going to start with the game that you were at tonight. Of course, our game of the week. Very excited. And I also appreciate our sponsor for game of the week, the Alabama Orthopedic Clinic. And it was, of course, the top 10, or number one, I guess, not top 10, two preseason number one teams, G.
Yeah, you can't say the top one matchup very often, but in this case you really can. Jackson and Saraland, this is a highly anticipated game. As you see right here, this was the crowd was absolutely insane. I'll get to the gameplay in a moment, but just
sold
the
out
energy,
crowd, I think they said,
it sold out crowd, and as I was leaving the game, parking was everywhere, about a mile away from the stadium. This is a great play, third down play. Saraland was facing third down, and they get it, not only a first down, but they get a touchdown. C.D. Gill there, 65-yard touchdown, and then K.J. Lacey rolls out again. This Texas commit has been phenomenal. He did well at the Elite 11 camp over in California. I think he finished top 10 in that camp, top 5 actually in that camp, and he showed that talent today. Dylan offered the receiving end of that touchdown. And then another great quarterback, two phenomenal quarterbacks. This is Landon Duckworth. A huge play there to Red Chapman, who's going to be a phenomenal receiver for Jackson Aggies. And then it's Gavin Jackson, appropriately named for the school he goes to, getting in the touchdown. And Jackson, you could tell they really started to sense some hope there. Good shot there of Coach Cody Flournoy, doing a great job with this program.
Gerhard's the one that shot this, so he's saying good shot, and he's the one that shot it.
I was trying to hide that a little bit.
I can't let you have that. I can't let you have that.
Sante McWilliams, he had a phenomenal game, broke out there. Shout out to the offensive line. They had a really, really good block there where he was ready to run right up the middle. I think a lot of people thought when it was 28-13 at the half, I think a lot of people thought that Saraland would run away.
Yeah.
But credit to Jackson. They came out and scored early in that second half, made it an 8-point game. I think a lot of people come away thinking, hey, Jackson will be probably. I think if I'm a pollster, if I still have a vote, they're still number one.
And that's the thing. And that's the thing that both of these teams said going into this game.
Yeah.
You spoke with Coach Flournoy going into the game the day of, obviously, now yesterday.
Right.
We spoke with Jeff Kelly a few days ago, and both coaches kept this game in perspective.
Right.
They knew when it comes to the region matchups, when it comes to the end turn, the long-term goals, everything is still there, win, lose, or draw in this game. You want to win it, of course. You want to be able to set the tone. It's a sold-out crowd. I mean, that's the atmosphere of high school football that you just so rarely that you really get to play in front of. And, kudos really to both coaches as well for scheduling this game, because a lot of coaches will not schedule this game because it's the first game, you have no idea, you have no measuring stick, but both coaches said, we want to put our team to the test, and they did. And kudos to them for having it, because what an incredible atmosphere for high school football.
Incredible. 2 points to that. Number one, you make a great point, and actually something that came up with both coaches about how this game got scheduled.
Yep.
One of the things that Coach Chip Kelly said is that we've been having such a successful run, nobody wants to play us. Jackson coach Cody Flournoy said, we've had a successful run, nobody wants to play us.
Might as well have the best play the best.
It was hard for them to get a game, and I said, hats off to both coaches to be able to do that. And then the second point, Coach Flournoy and I think Coach Kelly would admit to this as well, is that that's a playoff kind of atmosphere.
Oh, yeah.
You want to get your guys ready for those kind of games. And Coach Flournoy said, they lost in the third round last year. This is kind of an extension of their last year's season where you come back right into a big game type situation. Sure. Of course, Saraland waited all the way to the state championship game, another big game atmosphere
that they want to forget, and they wanted to be able to come out and say, "Hey, we've turned the page."
Yes.
Ryan Williams now at Alabama, we've turned the page. Again, not because you don't want to remember the fantastic season that you had. I mean, they were 28-2 in 2 years. I mean, okay, that's not too bad.
Yeah.
That's not too bad. But of course, that game did not end the way they would have hoped it would have ended. Of course, but you're able to come out, be at home, beat a very, very talented Jackson team that could go around the table in Class 4A for sure. So, anyways, game of the week did fall in the favor of Saraland. The final score, did we say what the final score was there?
35-27.
Okay, 35-27, and a fantastic game nonetheless. Now, another possible game of the week option, of course, as it often is the Battle of Old Shell Road. When you look at, these two teams, St. Paul's, UMS Wright, two of the top programs year in and year out, and a huge defensive battle, despite that impressive connection there on this play by the Saints early into this game. That was Kenny Johnson hitting Carson Stevens. Then Johnson here trying to go to the end zone, but how about another UMS Wright Lott? And this time, not Joe Lott, but David Lott, totally changing the momentum for the Bulldogs here. And then later, an impressive play as UMS gets a little bit closer to the end zone. Jim Nagy with the Senior Bowl. Shout out to him for sponsoring all of our fifth quarter coverage this year. And in that moment there, okay, that was a 3-0 game at that point, Gerhard. And so we're, this is an exciting atmosphere. You saw the crowd. You saw all this happening, but a defensive battle. Our photographer texted us and said, "This is so boring." I said, "No, it's not.
Great.
This is great. If you like defense, it's not so much great if you want to see a bunch of high-flying action like you saw over there at Saraland."
Yeah.
But nonetheless, 3-0. That was the last-second field goal there in the first half. And then this game ends up going into overtime. And I was watching the live broadcast and also watching our photographer feed the game back in real time. All of this is happening behind the scenes on Friday nights high school football. It's absolutely crazy here in Station. I'm a lunatic. Gerhard's trying to deal with me. A lot's going on. A lot of people trying to deal with me. But so much was happening, and it was like somehow St. Paul's was able to get off a game-tying field goal. And if you were at this game, I mean, you guys can weigh in on this. It was just incredible to see that take place. They tied the game. They go into overtime. Then St. Paul scores on the first possession. They hold UMS, and they win. I mean, unbelievable win for Ham Barnett and company.
And Ham Barnett, with that defensive background, that he has to be really proud of the way his defense played all game long. And, of course, Coach Terry Curtis, the exact same thing. This game, this rivalry always reminds me of two teams that just know each other really well. And you can make all of your prognostications. You can make all of your predictions. You can go to practice and say, well, this team's bigger, or this team's faster, or this team's stronger, this team returns 9 players. That's what I thought with St. Paul's. And obviously UMS graduated a lot of guys. You mentioned Joe Lott. And so you could just make all these predictions. And then at the end, it's like you have to
never
play.
know. I was surprised. I really thought, just judging by spring practice and things of that nature, I thought that St. Paul's would win this game by a couple touchdowns. I want to quickly get to some of our comments that we're getting here. We appreciate y'all reaching out. Robert Gray reached out. Who won the Milry game? Citronelle won the Milry game. A very tight battle in that one. Game. We can go to those highlights in just a moment. But it ended up being
28-25, I believe.
Yep, you have the final on that one. Yeah, and so Milry fell in that game on the road against a team that's obviously a higher classification, a team that has their former quarterback. Citronelle obviously now does have Dalen Edmonds at quarterback, and he was pretty impressive in the highlights that we have. Again, we'll show this in a moment. Some folks asking about the Baker and Theodore game. Baker, a huge win for Juan Johnson, getting that big win on the road against Steve Mask. And Theodore, thoughts on Orange Beach this year? We'll get to that game in just a minute as well.
Right.
And then Mobile Christian versus Chelsea. What I saw from that score was that Mobile Christian lost that game.
Right,
Chelsea won that game big, I think.
Yeah, Chelsea won that game big. We'll get a final score for you here shortly, but yeah, it obviously Mobile Christian had a fantastic run last year, won a state championship, moved up in classification, and then had a
24-3 is what I see there.
24-3,
So
a really tough test.
But again, this is one of those deals where you can feel, and our producer Pat is working behind the scenes right now. He just posted the high school football scores from week 1 right here in the comment section, so you can check them out there. But then you got to remember, you got to keep things in perspective. That was my word for the week was perspective.
Yeah.
Right here we have it on our board. Perspective. What happens in week 1 because you're not playing in region is not the end game of this. It's going to be okay.
Whether you win by 4 touchdowns or you lose by a lot, I think at the end of the day, these games are really true testing points, and you'll hear this a lot over the next 7 days. Teams improve so much from week 1 to week 2. That's where you see the most improvement.
No doubt.
And that's really on all levels of football, from Pee Wee to the NFL. And so I think we'll see a lot of these teams show and improve next week. So all of your guesses this week it might land on deaf ears. And for teams that did not do well or obviously did not have the result they wanted, it's a chance to get back on the practice field on Monday and get back to work.
Let's get to back to some highlights here, guys. We like to give our analysis, so don't mind us. We like listening to ourselves talk, especially Gerhard. Just kidding. Okay, so here's Theodore's impressive new turf, by the way. That almost didn't even look real. And there's Baker's impressive new head coach. His name's Juan Johnson. I've known him for a long time. He used to be at Hewitt Trustfield a long time, offensive coordinator and running backs coach there, so no surprise here as he has the Baker going on the ground. Into the end zone there was Tristan Robinson to get Baker going. But how about this? Special teams play, Gerhard. You got to love it, man. I mean, you force the turnover here deep in Theodore's own territory at home. Huge momentum changer. And
I think it's one of those big things when your offense can create some momentum and then it just permeates into the other 2 levels of football. Your defense and your special teams. That was a huge play.
How about this right here? Okay, I'm just going to tell you right now. These are a couple names that we've never said before, and that's kind of what I love about high school football every year is that you never know who it's going to be coming up, because we know this is a team that lost Josh Flowers not long ago, lost Bryce Kane not long ago, was wearing number 5, okay, right? And now let's just run that back right here because we had that capability, so why not, try to show off our technology here, right? Check this out. So this play right here, we have Tremere Lett hooking up with Katori Marion. And look at the energy on that. I mean, that sideline. And you know what? This is the sort of thing when it comes to high school football, being married to a coach, I can attest to this. When you see your guys go out there and execute things that you do in practice, you're like, thank you, Jesus. This looks like it looked when we practiced it. And so I'm excited for that reason. But also for them to pull out that big dub at Theodore. Theodore has all these renovations, all these exciting things. They had a lot of guys move in. That was a big storyline that we talked about all offseason. They had a lot of guys move in. Baker's coming out, trying to learn a new system, learn a new scheme. And then they pull off a win. That's a big deal.
I think one of the things that when you're a new coach, you just want semblances. You want small pieces of evidence that what you're doing is working. And nothing is more evident than a win.
Yeah.
And being able to go out and go to work and say, hey, all this stuff, all the grind that you're going through, right now, you're looking at a Tuesday, and it looks like a hard practice because you're in full pads. But I'm telling you, it'll pay off, and I know those Baker guys are really proud tonight.
Yep. All right, so we have Robert Gray checking in, also wanting to ask about Washington County. We have that game as well. Let's get it pulled up, guys, as Cottage Hill welcomes in Washington County today. Oh, we had some music bumping there, guys. That's from the Just a Show music, okay? So Washington County actually came into this game. They took a lead in this game. Go-ahead touchdown, 7-0. But then Cottage Hill said, hi, okay, this is our field. We're going to make magic happen here. And so an impressive play there by the Warriors. We're going to pull up our actual script here, so we're not just making things up as we go. But it was a back-and-forth affair from what we understand. And, again, we have to understand our perspective when it comes to getting information, getting highlights back from photographers. We're kind of learning on the fly. It's not like we could have 15 screens back here watching every single game. I wish if we could, I would do it. I would get somebody to pay the money for that. But I want to go back to this highlight, okay, and I'd be able to name some of these guys here. All right, so here's Andrew White receiving the kickoff after Washington County went up in this game and took it to the hizzy, man.
One of their veteran leaders. I got a chance to talk to him during our spring special, 33 teams in 33 days, and he's one of the guys that Coach Carvel Jones will really rely on going into the season.
Then going the other direction, here's Trey Smith into the end zone here to make it 14-7 for the Bulldogs. Went for 2. They had missed the first extra point. But how about this? Make no mistake, man. The name Tootle knows how to ball out at Cottage Hill Christian, man. Check this out. Shamar Tootle. He's a true freshman, all right? His daddy is Tootle boy. He's our guy, right? All right, so Shamar Tootle, a beautiful ball and a beautiful catch. Well defended, I would argue. I never played, corner or anything, but I mean, Caleb Mensner comes down with that ball to make it a tie game. However, it is Washington County that's going to come out with the win. I think that 26-20 was the final there, G. I can't see on this graphic, but 26-20, I know that Washington County came out on the win. You see this one here. So nonetheless, a lot to be proud of for Cottage Hill Christian to be able to fight in that game.
Right.
Just from speaking to people associated with the program, I know that they were hopeful to obviously come out with a win to be able to say, hey, okay, we have freshman quarterback, we have this capability, but still a lot to prove there. I mean, Washington County they're a strong program year in, year out.
They certainly are. 26-20, you were dead on. That was the final score in that one. And I think that if you're Washington County, to be able to go on the road against Chadrick Tootle, Carvel Jones, that really strong bunch, you have to have a lot of confidence going into the season. And for Cottage Hill, I know they will bounce back. This is a very young quarterback. You mentioned it on the show.
Yep.
A freshman quarterback going into this year, really taking the reins of this offense. You see he has the talent. They'll put it together.
Yeah, no doubt about that. All right, guys, I wanted to click over now to our pretty impressive game here. I don't know what to expect from this one, but Davidson hosting Murphy in this game. So a battle of a former highest classification school against 7A versus 6A here. Okay, so Murphy's obviously lower classification. Justin Hanna, coach over at Murphy, trying to get the program going. I want to go back to this first play that we had. I'm going to double back here because we did not give this nearly enough love on the show in fifth quarter. It's one of those things where when you see it, you can't really give it the amount of love you want to because you don't see it for the first time until you're on television already. Check this out. What an incredible touchdown catch here by Murphy. Pretty much under pressure, and then also under pass interference here.
We'll have a chance to show this one to you again. I think that
we're gonna keep playing it.
This is phenomenal. Probably one of the best catches of the
This
entire year.
is Ben Jackson to Chase Rogers. Ben Jackson to Chase Rogers. What? I mean, watch this. Oh, they're gonna slow motion.
Keeping your eye here on the football.
Watch this football. Watch this.
The concentration.
I mean, he gets drilled. Obviously, you can see the flag come out, but I mean, no problem there. No siree, no problem. But hey, guess what? Davidson wasn't backing down. Okay, this is not exactly their moment here, right? Okay, obviously, Murphy getting it done on special teams, right? All right, and then we have Jackson into the end zone, but Davidson was fighting, Davidson was clawing, and eventually, they can get in the end zone as well.
Yeah, and this is another battle between, obviously, Coach Lambert coaching right now for his first season.
Two young coaches,
with Davidson, very young coaches here, and I think this is a good good lesson for both teams as you go into the season. There's some great things, some great takeaways, I think, for both squads, some things that they'll look over when they go back to watch the film. I think this is one of those really, really fun, interesting games that's inside the city that you can obviously, use to propel your season moving forward.
What was our final on that one?
And the final of that one was, that final was Davidson. Davidson ended up winning this one 36-24.
And that's a big deal.
I
mean, listen, man, when you win at home to start the season, you're proving to not only to your fan base, but to yourself.
Yeah.
That hey, okay, the work was worth it. I mean, I was a student athlete. You were a student athlete.
Right.
You played college ball and, played high school ball. And, to be able to win in front of your fan base and your student section, that matters a lot. Yeah. And it matters a lot in regard to the momentum for your team moving forward. So hats off to Coach Lambert to get it done. I mean, obviously Coach Cawley moved on. Wanted to change up his career path and is in Mississippi doing big things as well. But and hats off to Justin Hanna because this is a team that's struggled lately. Murphy has not been great, and they come out. They kind of punch them in the mouth a little bit. Yeah. They're showing the talent that they have. They're in an unbelievably difficult, impossible region to even play in. 6A Region 1 is impossible, and they say, hey, we're Murphy and we're here to play too. And so hats off to both teams, both programs, both coaching staffs.
And I think both coaches knew that this game could prepare them in kind of different ways. Obviously, you mentioned Murphy, 6A Region 1, the toughest region in the entire state, no matter the classification. That's my opinion. I think that's one shared by many. And then at the same time, like you said, I think for Coach Lambert to get a win in his first game, I think we saw a lot of that around here on the Gulf Coast with coaches making their debuts, getting a win, and know that it leaves a great taste in their mouth. Yep,
for sure. All right, I want to check in quickly here with Foley. The Foley traveled to Bay Minette to play Baldwin County. A big matchup there, again, against two teams in 6 and 7A up against each other, of course. And Foley looking for a little bit of revenge because the Lions went from winning a region to not making the playoffs last year despite lots of talent, whereas Baldwin County has a new coach. They're wanting to also prove a point.
Yeah, a lot of internal motivation, I think, for both teams. And then, obviously, like you said, for Foley to get back. They lost Perry Thompson, lost a good group of seniors from last year. And that's a huge pick six there.
Yeah, this is our play of the week options too.
Yep.
Let's run that one back.
Kenneth Franklin, you have a chance to go vote for that for the play of the week. Read that play beautifully. Ended up going to the end zone, and as our producer wrote, chucked up the deuces.
Chucked up the deuces.
And I love that. But then you see there in this first quarter, you get a field goal, special teams. You get a defensive touchdown, and you get an offensive touchdown. And I think every team really feels that excitement when you can produce on all three levels. But Ty Mims, this is a guy whose brother you talked to, obviously a really good star at Baldwin County. His brother now is a star at Southern Miss. You talked to him over the summer. His younger brother doing big things as well.
Yeah, he definitely is. Super quick guy, has a lot of opportunities to go play at different places at the next level. And so, again, kudos to both programs coming out, fighting hard. Foley comes out with the win on the road. They went up big, and I don't think that Baldwin County was ever able to overcome in that way. But again, we know that every program is going to take a step from week 1 to week 2.
Right.
And I even have to remind myself in television that we're going to take a step in week 1 to week 2.
Sure.
I go back and watch fifth quarter. I came off the set. It's frustrating. Coaches come off the set frustrated. Players come off the set frustrated. You have to remember that we're all shaking off the rust a little bit.
Yeah.
Right? We're all learning as we go.
We haven't done this in a long, 8 months.
It's been a second, right? And so, all of us kind of rolling through the off season and preparing for kickoff. And this is where we're at today. So, regardless, it was a super, super fun first Friday night, Gerhard.
Certainly was. And I think that for all the teams that did not play today and the teams that'll play next week, we had a lot of teams obviously playing today. You'll get that rush again next week, but then also, like you said, you'll get a lot of teams that are playing their second game. So we'll start to get a referendum on teams and being able to find out what teams will do. Congratulations to all the head coaches that are new that got their first win here today.
Yeah, one game that we didn't get a chance to show on the air for fifth quarter, just a logistical thing behind the scenes. It happens was McGill up against Daphne, a highly touted game. McGill was in 7A for a second, obviously, or at least the biggest classification at the time. Daphne is a 7A program, really looking to take that next step under Kenny King. They've had moments of good. They've had moments of bad. And McGill still in the learning process a little bit there for the Yellow Jackets as well, wanting to get back into that blue map caliber type of program. And so want to get to those highlights quick because, again, these are two year in and year out high caliber programs.
Yeah, perennial powers here but between these two programs. And like you mentioned with McGill Tulane, year 2 under Coach David Faulkner, really trying to put the pieces together. But Coach Kenny King was really excited about this football team coming into this season. They returned 9 of their 11 starters on defense. And this is a really talented, like I said, not only just defense, but I think an older group that when they were younger, they won a lot. And last year, they did not go up to maybe the Trojan standard, as they would call it. But they really wanted to revive themselves, and nothing like being able to get a big win here in game 1.
Yeah, and here's Andrew Murchison. Okay, this is a returning starting quarterback for McGill. And again, this play specifically might not come up too big, but there is something to be said about having the ability to have your guys back and be able to just mesh in that regard and to know who it is that's going to be leading your team and your program. And McGill has that. I think that you felt that during 33 days, that there was a sense of comfort, so to speak, when I interviewed him during spring practice about being under Coach Faulkner in year 2. Everyone always feels better about year 2 than they do about year 1. So they go on the road, they lose. Daphne is going to be a tough team. Like you mentioned, they have a lot of defensive starters back. So look for Daphne to have kind of that bounce back year. This is a team that, has been in and out of the playoffs. But make no mistake, they are a very high-spirited. They have high expectations for this program. The fan base, they want to see a win. They want a blue map in 2010. They want to see those type of outcomes year in and year out. And so, I think that there's a lot of positive to take from all of it, for every team, of course. I mean, every day is a learning experience. It's high school athletics, right? I hate to be that guy, but you want to win. That's what you're out there doing. That's what you're out there. No one's out there just trying to hang out. But at the end of the day, you take what you can from week 1, you apply it to week 2, and that's football.
And I think what I love about, especially football, it really is life.
It's life.
I didn't know we were getting
life lessons here on fifth quarter extra. What else would you like for me to teach you about? Our producer Pat's over here, like, what, guys? It's 1 a.m. Why are we so about? Like, y'all literally, by the way, y'all left at 4 a.m. last time, and you're not going to get me to do that again. So, that was actually yesterday, not last time. That was today.
Exactly. But one quick point to piggyback off of what you're saying. I think that week 1, of course, it's important to get a good taste in your mouth. But secondly, all these teams are playing non-region games. And I think that's the big thing is when you see these inter-class battles, 4A to 3A, 6A to 4A, 7A to 6A.
Yep.
What you're getting is a true test, and win or lose, and as we said before, win or lose, you have a lot to take with you as you do step into region play.
It's true.
Because, of course, the playoff picture is set by that first, and then your tiebreakers next. And so I think a lot of these teams really like to play some fun games. And honestly, Simone, too, it creates some really fantastic matchups. We saw some great matchups, and as you said, hats up to a lot of these coaches taking on some tough challenges.
It's true, because honestly, there's some of these games, they wouldn't happen if these coaches didn't say, we want to challenge our guys coming right out of the bat.
Right.
And there are some coaches that will say, we need a dub right off the bat. And you know what? That's fine, too.
Sure.
And kudos to every coach for applying what it is they need to apply to their program.
Because all programs are different.
No question. All programs are in different places. Gerhard, any other scores you want to run through right quick? Don't mean to put you on the spot or anything like that. But just as we go through. And again, listen, we've consistently had 30-plus viewers. And so apparently there are people out there that like high school football as much as we do to stay awake until 1 in the morning to listen to us. We're still trying to figure out exactly how to be able to do, read some more comments and things like that.
Right.
But once we do that, we're going to be doing even more interacting. So we do appreciate y'all, by the way.
We certainly do. And I want to pass along a few scores. If you didn't catch the end of our show today, one of the big games, Pace, Florida against MGM. That game was 7-7 in the early stages, 14-14, went to overtime. Pace ended up winning that game 17-14. Robertsdale, shout out to Robertsdale, got a big win today.
No question, yes.
31-0 over Chickasaw.
For the first time in more than 1,000
days in a few seasons. So Chris Bell doing a great job there with that program. Good to see him being able to get a win here. And so just checking in some scores in and around the state of Alabama, just to make sure that we cover a lot of our local teams. Which is another thing, is a lot of our teams end up going far away and playing on the road. Mobile Christian obviously being one of those ones from before. One of the games that's not in our area that you'll probably hear about tomorrow, and I'm going to go ahead and tell you now, Ohatchee and New Hope. You want to know what the final score of that one was?
What?
76-71. Ohatchee won at home on the last play of the game.
They're actually playing basketball.
On the last play of the game. That'll be the talking point from high school football today. 76-71, Ohatchee over New Hope. That'll be the talk of the town. That's one of those crazy things that ended up at the very last play of the game. That's trending right now all over social media, so you'll be able to see that. But yeah, that's insane. That's another thing about early part of the year. You see a lot of these high-scoring games, so you hadn't tackled a lot outside of what you do in practice, obviously.
Yeah, but that ain't tackling at all, bro. Ain't tackling a lot. I mean, hold on, that's 100 and I'm not good at math. That's over 140. That's 70 plus 70. Yeah. Okay, then I don't know what that is. Okay, a lot of points.
147.
That's like every
points.
possession.
Yeah.
They were like, here, just go.
And it kind of makes sense. It's kind of made sense to score there at the very end. It's just like,
okay, so it is 1:08 in the morning, so it is technically Saturday, and with that, we're still a week away from the college football season. However, week 1 of the high school football season is not over yet, guys. The Battle of Pritchard kicks off tonight at Ladd Stadium.
That's right.
And make no mistake about it, there are some storylines in this game, because we have seen some changes this entire offseason as Viger and Blunt will go head-to-head. Battle of Pritchard at Ladd Stadium. They can't even fit the folks that come to this game in their home stadiums. They change venues for it. And, man, I mean, the storylines galore.
Certainly is. Think about all the new things with Viger. New head coach, new quarterback.
Yeah.
And obviously, a new player on their defensive end, a guy that won the 3A Defensive Player of the Year a year ago, in Kentonio Kelly. I ended up seeing him actually at the Saraland game today. So
what did he say?
He said he was excited for tomorrow.
Good.
He's ready. He's ready, and it's one of the things that got a chance to talk to him about, just the excitement of playing with a new team, learning a new defensive scheme, new system. He's really excited. And then you take a look at Blunt on the other side. Second year with Coach Raymond Nelson. He said something really, really, I think, evident in his press conference. This is the first time in, I think, 5 years they've had a same coach back-to-back years. So continuity is big for this team, and I think that'll show as well. Chase Howard is another guy that comes to mind for that Blunt program, great defensive end. So it'll be a great game, and I think it's obviously a phenomenal rivalry, and then playing that on the final Saturday before college football really kicks off is really special.
Yeah, no doubt. And when it comes to familiarity, you mentioned the consistency for in-coaching staff, of course, for Blunt and for Viger, a very peculiar situation a little bit when you look at what happened recently. I mean, we're talking about the offseason, not just a couple weeks ago, when John McKenzie was brought back as the Viger head coach. Of course, they parted ways with Marcus Cook, and John McKenzie brought back something you don't see really very often in any level of football, in any level of athletics, honestly, but he won a state title with Viger just a couple of years ago. Marcus Cook was there, of course, for 2 seasons, and controversial, of course, when they had the split.
Yeah.
The timing of it was not ideal for anybody involved. But here comes John McKenzie back. What will he have to offer? It'll be interesting to see. What will he do with Sammy Dunn now at quarterback, the former Bayside Academy quarterback, coming in and leading guys under center. And so it'll be interesting.
I think one of the things that you think about whenever it comes to a coaching change is how fast will things click. I think we saw it with Juan Johnson and Baker. They had it during the spring, and then they got a win today. You see it with Coach Chris Bell at Robertsdale. Ended up getting a big win. Will that same immediate success happen at Vigor? And I think a lot of people have high expectations because, like you said, last time Coach McKenzie was there, they were holding up a blue map, and so I think a lot of people have a lot of expectations about what this program will look like, and I think Blount has a lot to play for because I think they think they can take another step this year, take another step in building their program. So I'm really fired up for this one.
Yeah, and nothing better than a rivalry game to make that point, no doubt. Well, guys, we certainly appreciate you guys tuning in this late in the evening. If you're watching on record, appreciate that as well. Gerhard Mathangani, I'm Simone Eli. We are the WKRG 5 News sports team, I should say. This is fifth quarter extra. It's going to be an extension every single week of what it is that we are able to bring on the air, but really just an in-depth look at high school football, something we're both super passionate about. Between the two of us, we've probably covered high school athletics in this state for, I don't know, maybe 35 years combined.
I was about to say it's probably
we don't look that old, but
3 decades combined.
It's a second. We've been doing it for a minute, and so this is just what we love to do. I like doing this even more so than I like to do fifth quarter sometimes because it gives us an opportunity to connect with our viewers and really take an inside look at our teams. And so we appreciate you guys tuning in, and we look forward to week 2.
We certainly do. We'll be right back here next Friday night. A lot of teams playing their first game, most teams playing their second game. We'll be here for all the fun.
All right, guys. Appreciate you tuning in. We'll see you next week.